So I had a friend some years ago, a good friend of mine, who trained with my wife and I one year to run a 5K. This is around the time that my wife and I were doing 5Ks relatively often, at least a lot more often than I do now. I don't do much long distance running these days. That's another video. But anyway, the church we were going to at the time, we actually had made it like a church thing for us to go and run this 5K together. And so we got a lot of people on board, but this friend of mine in general, we challenged him to do it, and we said that we would train with him to do it, get in shape with him to do it. And so he was like, okay. So we set a date for the first time we would practice, and we were actually going to go and pick him up from where he stayed at and take him to a nearby track with us. And at the time we were doing this app, it was like Couch to 5K, where it would take you from being essentially a couch potato to being able to be in shape to finish a 5K. And so anyhow, the date was set, and we proceeded to, we proceeded toward that date. The night before we were supposed to go train the next morning, I got a text message from my friend. And he said, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it or whatever. Non-specific reason. Now the thing is, I knew what was going on. I knew, and I mean this in all respect, but I knew that my friend was making an excuse. I knew it because he'd been my friend for a while, and I had known there to be many times where he would make up his mind to do something, but then on the eve of that time, he would make up an excuse to not do it. And so I talked with my wife about it. I was like, yep, he's doing it. And so we agreed. It was like, no, we're not letting him back out. This is our friend, and we're going to hold him to it. Now, I do want to say this, to his, in his defense, he had no fitness background. He wasn't one to play sports or anything like that. So, he and nobody in his family was into fitness or anything like that either. And so, he had some apprehension. He had a lot of apprehension, actually. And so I actually commend him for actually agreeing in the first place. And so, but I texted him back that night. I was like, hey, we'll be there in the morning. And I got no response. And so my wife and I drove to his place the next day. And then sure enough, texted him, and he came out, and he was quiet. You could tell he was kind of upset, and not saying anything to us, and it's like, hey, you all right? And he was like, yeah, and that was pretty much it. And my wife and I just kind of like looked at each other, just didn't say anything. We rode to the track. And so the Couch to 5K thing we were doing, it was an app. And since I didn't have a smartphone, still don't, by the way, but my wife ran the app on her phone. And so what happens is you would have to do, it would take you through some amount of time running and then some amount of time walking to recover. And it would gradually, over time, increase the amount of running you did until you were running straight. And so it would tell you when to run and when to walk. And so we did it with him. And that first day, again, he was quiet. When we started running very slowly, and barely really able to call it a run, but he was out there. By the end of that session, he had opened up a bit. Next time we trained together, he was more so his normal self, and you could tell that he had begun to embrace, the training, to the point that as we progressed, he was kind of leading the way. He was leading the way. And so, long story short, we trained together, and he did run that 5K. It was his first 5K, and not only was he able to say he made a huge fitness leap by running the 5K, something that the type of thing that no one in his family had ever done before, but he also conquered himself. And that's why I wanted to record this video, because Here's the thing, y'all. You got to get out of your own way. You do. Now, a lot of the reason that we have unaccomplished fitness goals, health issues that are related to our lifestyle, it's because we've inherited generational ways of living. You know, in church, sometimes we call it generational curses, you know, but it's like lifestyle, unhealthy lifestyle habits that might contribute to high blood pressure, diabetes, and stuff like that. We may not really know what a healthy lifestyle looks like because we never had an example of it. And so I found that, you know, especially for me, since I actually grew up with my dad being into fitness and my mom having her own fitness journey, I was able to kind of like absorb a lot of information and kind of like example of what it would look like. And so, you know, it was something that was different for me. It's easier for me, I admit that. But, you know, that may be a lot of the reason why people have unaccomplished fitness goals, maybe you. But the main thing I believe that is underlying almost every single time is that, I'm trying to stretch these flexors out, is that we get in our way. There's something in us that tends to hold us back. Why? Because a lot of times, whenever you're embarking on a fitness goal, a fitness challenge, or you just wanting to lose a few pounds, or see if you can get off of maybe blood pressure medications or something like that, or just kind of create a different health paradigm for your family, you're in uncharted territory a lot of time. Or to the least, you're having to endure some level of difficulty. And that's the thing about, you know, any worthwhile goal. It's always going to have some level of difficulty, at least in the beginning, you know. And so, because of that difficulty, you're always going to have to struggle against yourself. Always. My friend, like I said, I know he was wanting to accomplish, you know, various things with his health because he would tell me about them. You know, like his own visions of like what he wanted to look like and the kind of like person he wanted to just be able to be. But like when you get to the moment of change, a lot of times, man, so I'm gonna have to go and get sweaty. I'm gonna have to be breathing hard and stuff, and it's gonna feel this way and that way, and I'm gonna have to give up some of the food I like to eat and stuff. And so we look at it from a negative standpoint, but it's really that struggle against your flesh. You know, struggling against addictions and just cravings. And so the point that I'm making though is, especially with me being one who was raised with some level of knowledge of exercise and healthy eating, I know that getting your body into shape, it is challenging, but it's not really as challenging as it seems. And I think for me, I can say that because the mental part is so easy for me. It still is physically challenging. When I lift weights, whenever I lift weights and stuff like that, and I'm lifting heavy weight, you know, it's a challenge. And sometimes I second guess it. You know, I just came back from running some hills and doing some hard bike riding up some neighborhood hills. It never really feels easy. It doesn't. It's just that I embrace that. I've learned to embrace it. I know that that's what comes with it. And so, but I know enough to know that there's going to be some challenge, but the biggest part is here. Once you get over this part, then the other part is just not that bad. And so you got to get over yourself. I applaud my friend again in that he agreed to do the stuff with my wife and I. And so there was that measure of accountability. It could be accountability that you need. It could be you need to set an alarm. It could be you need to buy a gym membership. It could be that you don't need to buy a gym membership. You might need to do something else because you don't want to buy something and then just be essentially just wasting your money, you know. But you got to get out of your own way, because I promise you, especially when you kind of start feeling, here we go, I don't know. I think that's a real good indicator that whatever your fitness breakthrough or whatever, I guess to use the word breakthrough, your fitness breakthrough is around the corner. Because once you, again, the first few times it's going to be difficult. You don't even have to start that big. The first few times is going to be difficult, but once you get over that, that's where the breakthrough is. Then you kind of set into your routine, and then it only goes up from there. I mean, you may have plateaus. You know, you may try some things and they don't necessarily work, but the main thing is that you're on your way. And so I just want to say, get out of your way. Get out of your way. Get out of your way. Stop getting in your own way. If you really want it, at some point you got to stop dreaming about it. You have to, you know, like the scriptures, faith without works is dead. You can believe all you want to. You can have the vision for it all you want to. But at some point it has to translate into action. At some point it had, so the dream will kind of like get you, you know, to the point of where, okay, so I need to start walking every day. It'll get you to that point, but you actually got to take the action. It's like just dreaming about walking is not going to be enough. Okay? So I'm just saying, get out of your way. All right? So you can go ahead and get these goals accomplished. So you can go ahead and get into your best body and do whatever it is here in this earth that you're supposed to do. All right, that's enough.
As we get older, it becomes increasingly important to maintain and build muscle. Muscle helps you burn fat, stay mobile, and can contribute to longevity. However, many people have no idea how to work out to build muscle. My mini workout series on Patreon provides you with my body weight mini workout video library. These workouts use little to no equipment, which means that you can do them in the privacy of your own home. They start at beginner level and progress from there to ensure you continue to see results. Every workout is a full body workout, hitting chest, back, legs, and glutes, as well as other muscles in between. Become a patron today and receive access to my series of mini workouts, plus access to a digital copy of my book, 8 Weeks to Transform Your Diet and Your Health. By combining the workouts with healthy diet changes, as outlined in my book, you'll definitely be on your way to weight loss, improved health, and visible results. Join me at patreon.com/SeanB2B Fitness today.